RPM means answering 3 questions. And by the way, this is what I figured out. If I want to change your focus or my own, the fastest way is ask a new what question. In fact, one day I was thinking to myself, music, what is thinking? Like, what is thinking? What is the process of thinking? What is it really? I said, okay, well, right now I'm thinking and I'm saying, what is thinking? And that's a question. Okay, is it possible that thinking is nothing but the process of asking and answering questions? I'm not sure, but I just asked a question in order to answer that. And I did this for about 20 minutes of myself where I realized the whole damn thing was asking and answering questions. That's all thinking is. Here's the problem. You have habitual questions that don't take you in the direction you want to go, and you have some habitual questions that do. So you have some great areas of your life you're doing really well, and other areas where it's not consistently where you want it to be. If you're in a relationship and the primary question you ask all the time is, how did I get stuck with you? This is not a good question, right? Versus, how did God make me so lucky to have you? I don't even mean saying it out loud to someone else. I'm just saying your internal question, but a better question will give you a better state. That's what led me to creating RPM, because I realized the question that everybody asks is, what do I need to do? But they haven't first asked what they want. So a lot of people are good doers. Not only the right question, write this down, it's also the order of questions. Sequence matters. So you've heard me use the example, if the dog bit Johnny, Johnny bit. If Johnny bit the dog, and using the same words, different sequence, very different experience if you're Johnny. Well, it's the same thing with questions. The sequence of questions matters. If you start with what I'm going to do, the sequence of questions and the questions make a difference. So our first question, and by the way, not only the sequence of questions, but our first question is what? What is the result? What do I want? What is the outcome? Those are all words for the same thing. The reason we call it RPM, by the way, is it's what's the result? What's the purpose? And what's my map or massive action plan? But also RPM in a car. More RPM you got, the faster that car can go with less stress and more power. You get more power with RPM. Well, music, there's more power when you have these 3 questions in this sequence than you're ever going to get by going, what am I going to do? No matter what damn planner you have, how complex it is or simple it is. Whether it's digital or paper, it's got color or not, doesn't matter. If I never saw you again and all you did was take this thinking process, it'll change your life. But if you also put into a system, you'll get even more out of it. So that first question, and by the way, when asking, what do I really want? What's my outcome, right? What do I want from this? That's critically important that you get really clear about it. Again, like I said, you want to be as specific as possible in many ways. You want to be as measurable as possible. If you think about playing golf, for example, I'm not a golfer, but one thing I learned playing golf was the more you focus precisely on when you go, the closer you're going to be to achieving it. If you just look at the general area of the green, it's very different than if you look at where you think the flag is versus exactly where the hole is. Your subconscious has a way. Our brains, you've heard me talk about this before, have this thing called the reticular activating system, the RA. That part of your brain determines what you notice. Well, when you're totally focused on something, it's something you really want. That's a key word. Desire, not have to get to, want, desire. This is my outcome, not somebody else's outcome. Your brain will do anything to find a way to get there. It's like a servo mechanism in a rocket. If you send a rocket at a plane, in the old days, if you have the wrong angle, it missed. But now they have a servo mechanism like your brain. And when the target moves, what happens? The rocket moves and follows it. That's the power. Well, that's what happens in your brain. The more clear you are about what you want, the more specific, the easier it is to get there. So we want it clear and we want it to be compelling. Those are the 2 pieces. What do I really want? What's my outcome? What's my result? Let's try to make it as clear, as specific, as compelling as possible, because that's what's going to drive us to move forward. So our goal is not that we don't go on a spin. It's not that you one day don't do this well or you drop it out. It's like you get right back on the horse and you do it again and you master it and you master it and you master it until after a while you'll be that great. But notice the greatest in the world keep practicing what they're already great at. They're practicing 100 million times more than they're actually taking the shot. But that's how they're best in the world. We want to be the best in the world at managing our lives. But watch this. This is what he practices on. I found out when I sit down with him, well, I'm curious when you're doing this, what do you focus on? And he said, my entire focus is not on the basket, not the whole thing, not even the rim. Put it up there. Throw up the picture for us so we can show it to him. This is what he focuses on right there. Those 2 little rings at the very edge at the top where you see the strings in, right in the center. He focuses on that spot and putting the ball just above that spot. Most people look at the basket as a whole. He's that clear and he's that practiced. You follow me? It's both because his focus is so precise, he finds the target. The more clear you are, the quicker you are. So what do we need to succeed? Number 1, we need a target, and we need to answer the question, what do we really want? If I'm going to go have a conversation with you, I'm going to sit down, if I know you personally, before I'm going to try and figure out what do we really want to accomplish here. When I sit down in a meeting with anyone, we'll spend a moment or two or whatever socializing for a little bit. I want to connect. But when it's down to business, my first question to every meeting, anyone that ever gets with me is, what's our outcomes? Tell me what our outcomes are today. What are we here to get done? I'm not here to do a meeting. I'm going to show you most. Meetings are a disaster. They're a waste of time. They're stupid because I have all these companies. I teach all of them how to run the meetings. Most meetings are just a total pain in the ass and a total waste of time, and things are totally circular. But the more clear you are on what you want and why you want it, the easier it is. But first, you got to know what you want. No. So that's the second question. Okay, now we know exactly what the target is. If I've got a map and I know exactly where I want to go, that's really valuable. But whether I get there or not is, do I have enough fuel? I got a target, but do I have enough fuel? Do I have enough energy to get there? The energy that gets you to take action is the why. So the second RPM question is purpose-driven is, what's my purpose? Why do I really want this? It's the why. Why is this a must for me to achieve, not a should, right? What about this? Why do I want to do this? Again, get to versus have to is between rich and poor. I don't mean money. You're going to have very little money, but if every day everything is a have to, you're poor. If most what you're doing is a get to, you're rich, you're happy, you're fulfilled. So this, you decide this. You make the decision of what it's going to be like. And when you start doing the, and it becomes a habit, you're going to feel, I got a compelling target, and man, I know what I'm doing. I got the fuel. Now, once we know the second question, the third question is, okay, how? But the way we do it is we say, what's my map? What's my massive action plan? Why? Because I have a presupposition jotted down. Massive action is the cure-all. You can solve anything with enough massive action. When I see people who succeeded, no matter who they are, there's one common denominator. It is an intelligence. I love wickedly smart people. Music, the one unif piece of people that overachieve is they're relentless. They're relentless. They persist. They just keep going. They've got this massive action plan. If one thing doesn't work, they do another till they get there because they know what they want and why they want it. Here's the problem. If you ask this question first, which is really the how question, and you've never done something before, the minute you go like, well, how do I lose 50 pounds? You've never done it before. How do I make the 10 million in this business? I've never even made $1 million. Your brain's going to go, I don't know how. So you go from excitement about a goal to I don't know how. And then you got uncertainty. And so what happens then? Uncertainty can lead to fear, at least uncertainty, and you don't follow through. Without a certain level of certainty, people don't follow through. Hesitation kills. In business, you need momentum. So if you start out, you in business mastery, I often call it we talk about this idea of think of the how as something that you do last. I call it the tyranny of how. Because if you go how and you never done it, your brain goes, I've never done this. You get uncertain and I don't know what to do. So notice when we do a plan at Business Mastery for people like a 10-10 plan, those you've been there and figure out how to grow their business 30. The way it works is we don't ask how. We figure out what we want and why we want it, precisely what we want and why we want it, and then we figure out how to do it. And when you know what you want and why you want it bad enough, the how just flows. It's not hard when you're in a peak what your job is getting in that state. And the way you do that is fully answer the first two questions in a way that is compelling.